Most people don't notice substitute teachers. Just faces that come and go, trying to survive the noise. But something about her was different. Too calm, too aware. When the jokes started flying, she didn't even look up. Then one of the boys reached for her notebook. And that's when the air changed. She didn't flinch. She moved fast. 1 second they were laughing. The next desks rattled, chairs scraped back. And silence had a new name. Before we continue, I take this chance to thank you for being here. Every view, every comment, every bit of support reminds us why we tell these stories. Because strength doesn't always shout, and sometimes kindness is the quietest form of courage. If you feel the same, don't forget to subscribe. It truly helps us keep going. The sound of rain hit the classroom, windows like a soft drum beat. It was supposed to be an ordinary Tuesday, just another gray morning at Ridgeview High. Students trickled in, half awake, half annoyed, clutching their coffees and phones like lifelines. The regular teacher, Mr. Dalton, had called in sick again, 4th time that month. And whenever he was gone, the kids knew what that meant: free day. Phones out, feet up, no rules. Except today, there was someone new standing at the front of the room. She didn't say much when they entered, just nodded once, eyes calm, posture straight. Mid-30s maybe, hair tied back neatly, simple clothes, nothing fancy. She didn't write her name on the board. She didn't give the usual nervous smile substitutes gave when facing a class that could smell weakness. She just said quietly, "Good morning, phones away please." At first they laughed. Who did she think she was? A few obeyed, the quiet ones, the ones used to following rules even when no one else did. But in the back row, where the trouble always lived, 3 boys shared a grin that said, "Let's have some fun." Liam was the loudest of them, tall, charming and mean in a way that got laughs instead of trouble. His friends, Cole and Mason, were the kind that followed wherever laughter led. Liam leaned back in his chair. "Phones away, miss. You sure you want to start your first day like that?" She didn't even look at him, just walked slowly down the aisle, her steps measured, her voice steady. "Yes, I'm sure." Cole snorted. "You new here or something? You don't talk to us like that unless you got tenure." A ripple of laughter filled the room. She stopped beside their row, not close enough to threaten, but close enough for silence to feel heavy. "What's your name?" she asked. "Liam," he said, smirking. "Liam," she repeated. "Good, now you can help me take attendance." She slid the clipboard toward him, the pen balanced on top. The class giggled again, but Liam froze for just a second. Something about the way she said his name, not angry, not scared, just controlled. Like she was testing him, seeing how far he'd push. He leaned forward, grabbing the clipboard. "Sure thing, teach." Then with exaggerated care, he dropped the pen, watched it hit the floor, bounce twice, roll to her shoe. She didn't move. He smirked, "You gonna get that or?" In one fluid motion, she bent down, picked up the pen, and placed it back on the desk without looking at him. "Thank you for helping," she said softly and walked away. No one laughed this time. Something about her calmness, the absolute absence of reaction, made it worse than anger ever could. By the time lunch rolled around, the whole school had heard about the new sub. "Robot lady," someone called her. "Too quiet to be normal," another said. But none of them noticed how the security officer by the door, an older man with sharp eyes, gave her a small nod every time she passed. His name was Mr. Shaw. And if anyone had looked close enough, they would have seen a small patch sewn inside his jacket, the faded insignia of a training unit that hadn't existed in decades. That afternoon, the rain turned into a downpour. The students were restless, tapping pencils, whispering across aisles. Liam couldn't let it go. He needed to break her calm, to prove she wasn't untouchable. "Hey, miss," he said, standing up mid-lesson. "You got a first name, or should we just call you Sub?" She didn't answer. Just turned a page in the textbook, the soft scrape of paper louder than his laugh. Cole chimed in, "Bet she's one of those ex-military freaks. Look at that posture, man." She looked up just once. Her eyes met his, calm, almost pitying. "No," she said softly, "but you're close." The class chuckled, confused. Liam grinned, Close, huh? What, you some kind of spy? She smiled faintly, something like that. He took that as a challenge. All right, something like that, let's make this fun. He walked toward her desk, slow and theatrical, holding out her notebook. You dropped this earlier. She looked at it. No, I didn't. Sure you did, he said, flipping it open. Let's see what teachers write about us, huh? Don't, she said quietly. But he was already reading the first line out loud. Until his face froze. There were no student notes, no lesson plans. Only one phrase, written neatly across the first page. Control is power. Beneath it, a faded signature. Jasonstatham. The room went still. Even Cole looked confused. Wait, what? The substitute walked forward, her expression unreadable. She took the notebook gently from Liam's hands. Lesson S over, she said. Everyone out. The class hesitated, half expecting her to explode, half waiting for her to smile. She did neither. Now, something in her tone made even Liam take a step back. They started packing up, mumbling, avoiding her gaze. As they left, the only one who stayed behind was the janitor, mopping the hallway. He glanced in, saw the tension, then gave her a knowing nod. When the door finally shut, she exhaled a long, steady breath. Her hand trembled slightly as she traced the name written in the notebook. It had been years since she'd seen it. 2 hours later, the school emptied. Rain had turned into fog, wrapping the campus in a soft, eerie quiet. But 3 silhouettes lingered behind the gym. Liam, Cole, and Mason, soaked, restless, still riding the rush of rebellion. She's hiding something, Liam muttered. Did you see that notebook? Control is power. Who even writes that? Cole shrugged. Maybe she's some kind of survival freak. Or, Mason added, maybe she's just weird. They laughed, their voices echoing against the concrete walls. Then Liam's grin turned mean again. Bet she's still in that classroom, probably grading us like we're criminals. He picked up a rock, tossed it once in his hand. Let's pay her a visit. Cole hesitated. Man, that's dumb. Relax, Liam said. We're not gonna hurt her, just scare her a little. Remind her who runs this place. They crept down the hallway, footsteps soft on the wet floor. Through the window, they saw her still there, sitting alone, writing something in that same notebook. Liam gestured for the others to follow. He pushed the door open slowly, letting it creak just enough to get her attention. She didn't look up. Didn't even flinch. I thought school was over, she said. Yeah, Liam smirked. We figured we'd stay after class. Cole laughed. You don't seem so calm now, do you? She closed her notebook gently and stood. I'll give you one chance, she said softly. Leave. Mason scoffed. Or what? She stepped closer, slow, measured like a lion closing in on prey. Or you'll find out why I'm not scared of you. Liam took a step forward. Lady, you're not. Before he could finish, his wrist was caught midair, twisted, redirected. In one motion, she turned him around, disarmed the rock from his hand, and placed it neatly on the desk. Cole froze. What the? She didn't shout, she didn't brag. She just looked at them, calm and deadly. Go home. They bolted. The door slammed behind them, leaving the sound of rain and her steady breathing. She sat back down, opened the notebook again. And this time she whispered to herself. Control is power, Jason, you were right. Out in the parking lot, Liam and his friends didn't stop running until they reached the gate. What was that? Cole gasped. She moved like a soldier. Liam didn't answer. His pride hurt more than his wrist. But in his mind the question burned. Who trained her? He didn't know then that the answer would change everything. Because the man who wrote those words in her notebook wasn't just a teacher. He was Jasonstatham. And when he heard what happened that day, the lesson wasn't over yet. The next morning, Ridgeview High was quieter than usual. Word had spread fast about what happened in room 3B. No one had footage, no one dared pull out a phone. But stories traveled faster than truth. Some said the substitute flipped a desk over with one hand. Others said she was ex-military, trained to take down anyone twice her size. And a few swore she disappeared right after class, like a ghost. In reality, she was back, sitting calmly at her desk as if nothing happened. Her notebook was open, pen steady, eyes distant. When the bell rang, the room filled with whispers instead of noise. Students who usually mocked now sat a little straighter. No one wanted to be the next Liam. Liam walked in last. He hadn't slept, his wrists still ached, but his pride hurt more. He didn't make eye contact. Didn't crack jokes. Just slipped into his seat, quiet for the first time in years. The substitute, her name still a mystery, looked up briefly, nodded once and said, "Let's begin." No lectures, no anger. Just structure like nothing had happened. It was unsettling in a good way. For the first time, the class listened. Not because they had to, but because they wanted to. After class, Liam stayed behind. He lingered near the door, hesitating. "Miss," he started, voice low. She glanced up, "Yes." He scratched the back of his neck. "About yesterday, I didn't mean." "You did," she interrupted softly, not cruelly, "but you didn't understand why." He frowned. "Why what? Why you do what you do? Why you need to prove something?" He blinked, confused. "I don't." She smiled gently. "It's okay, you don't have to explain, but I'll tell you this: real strength doesn't need an audience." He looked at her, unsure whether to feel seen or exposed. Then he muttered sorry and walked out. She watched him go, a small sigh escaping. Maybe, just maybe, something had shifted. That evening, after the halls emptied and the janitor's mop echoed down the corridor, she stayed behind again. The rain had returned, soft and steady, like the night before. She took out her notebook, tracing her fingers over the name still written on the first page. Jasonstatham. Her mentor. Her teacher. The man who had once told her, discipline isn't about control, it's about peace. She hadn't seen him in years. Not since the training ended. Back then she wasn't a teacher. She was a wreck, running from a past filled with noise, failure, and regret. Jason had been her anchor, teaching her how to hold her ground when life tried to knock her down. "You don't fight people," he'd said once during a sparring session. "You fight chaos, inside you, around you. Control that and no one can touch you." She smiled faintly at the memory. Then behind her, a voice spoke. "Still quoting me, huh?" Her breath caught. She turned slowly, and there he was. Jasonstatham stood in the doorway, rain dripping from his jacket, eyes calm but sharp. Older now, a few more lines, a few more scars, but the same quiet power that could silence a room. "Jason," she whispered, stunned. He smirked. "Heard you've been teaching." She laughed softly, trying to. He stepped inside, closing the door behind him. Word travels fast. 3 kids, a desk, and one very confused principal. She sighed. "I didn't hurt them, I just reminded them." Jason nodded approvingly. "Good, always remind, never destroy." For a moment, silence filled the room. It wasn't awkward, it was peace. 2 soldiers of discipline, sharing air heavy with understanding. Finally she spoke. "How'd you find me?" "Got a call from Shaw," he said, gesturing toward the hallway. "Said one of my students was making headlines for the right reasons." "Mr. Shaw," she blinked. "Wait, the security guard." Jason grinned. "He's not just a guard, he's one of mine." Her eyes widened. "You mean?" "Yeah," Jason said. "You were never really alone." She shook her head in disbelief. "All these years and you still keep watch." "Someone's gotta make sure my lessons don't go to waste." Before she could reply, the classroom door swung open hard. Liam stood there again, pale, nervous. Behind him, his father, red-faced, loud and already angry. The kind of man who didn't ask questions, only demanded control. "Are you the one who laid hands on my boy?" the father barked, marching forward. Jason didn't move, he just watched. The substitute spoke calmly. "Your son was never in danger." "Don't play games," the man snapped. "I'm going to the principal, the board, the—" Jason stepped forward slowly. "You'll do none of that." The man turned sharply. "And who the hell are you?" Jason's voice was steady, almost too quiet. "Someone who's trained people to end wars without firing a shot." The man froze, recognizing something in Jason's eyes, not threat but authority. Jason continued. Your son wasn't hurt, he was taught a lesson, one you should have taught him years ago. The man opened his mouth, but no words came out. Jason's tone softened slightly. You still have time to fix that, don't waste it on pride. For a moment, it felt like the air had stopped moving. Then slowly, the man turned toward his son. Liam stared at the floor, guilt etched across his face. Come on, his father muttered finally, voice small now. Let's go. They left. The door closed softly behind them. Jason turned back to her. Still handling things without breaking bones. I'm proud. She smiled. I learned from the best. He nodded. You did good, real good. For a second she saw something rare, pride in his eyes, the kind that didn't need words. But then Jason's expression shifted. Listen, he said quietly, these kids, they're not your enemy. They're noise. You can't fight every storm that walks into your room. She nodded. I know, but sometimes storms need to see who's holding the umbrella. Jason chuckled. Fair enough. He walked to the window, watching the rain streak the glass. You ever think about coming back? He asked. She frowned. To training. To the field, he said. We could use more people who still believe in patience. She smiled softly. I think my battlefield's here now. Different kind of war, same kind of souls. Jason nodded slowly. Then keep fighting the right way. He turned to leave, but paused at the door. By the way, he said, you got one more student out there. She blinked. Who? Jason tilted his head toward the hallway. Liam, been sitting by the vending machine for 15 minutes. Looks like he's working up the courage to apologize again. She smiled. Maybe this time he means it. Jason grinned. He will. Kids like him just need someone to see the good before the noise. He opened the door halfway, then looked back once more. Proud of you, kid. You turned control into compassion. That's rare. And with that he was gone, the rain swallowing his footsteps like a secret. She stood there for a moment, staring at the door. Then she picked up her notebook, flipping to a fresh page. At the top she wrote, Lesson 42, control is power but compassion is strength. Then she looked out the window, where the rain finally started to clear. A small rainbow shimmered faintly through the mist. Down below, by the vending machine, Liam was still there, sitting with slumped shoulders, replaying everything he'd done. She took a deep breath, grabbed her coat and walked toward the hallway. As she stepped out, the janitor looked up. Heading home, miss. She smiled. Not yet, one more lesson to teach. The next day, things were different. No whispers. No mockery. Just quiet respect. Liam walked in first, carrying a book instead of his phone. Cole and Mason followed, subdued but curious. When class began, the substitute looked up from her desk. Good morning, she said. Liam nodded. Morning, miss. And for the first time, he meant it. That afternoon, Jason's car pulled up near the school gate. He leaned against the hood, watching her class through the window from afar. Mr. Shaw walked up beside him, sipping coffee. She's got it handled, huh? Jason smiled faintly. Yeah, better than I ever did. Shaw chuckled. You think she'll ever tell them who she really trained under? Jason shook his head. Doesn't matter if she does. They'll figure it out not by name but by how she carries herself. He took one last look at the classroom, at her calm, centered presence, then turned to leave. Let's go, Shaw. The world's got enough noise. Let's find the next quiet one. As they walked away, the school bell rang sharp, echoing alive. Inside, the substitute teacher smiled softly at her class. Lesson 42, she said. Let's talk about control. And somewhere beyond the rain, Jasonstatham smiled too. Because in a world that kept shouting, she had learned to fight with silence and win.